Welcome to my YouTube channel. Hit the like button, share your thoughts, subscribe and tap the bell icon. Her hands froze. The coffee pot steamed in her grip. But her eyes stayed locked on the empty booth in the corner. Booth 7. Every morning for the last 5 weeks, the boy sat there. Always alone. Always quiet. Never once late. Until now. Marla blinked hard. She stepped back, placed the pot on the counter, and wiped her hands on her apron. A dull ache pulsed in her chest. Her body moved out of habit. But something inside her told her something was wrong. Not small wrong. Deep wrong. The bell over the door jingled. She turned fast. A couple stepped inside. Early travelers. Loud. Carrying too much luggage for a one-night stay. They asked for pancakes. She nodded without hearing the words. Her eyes kept drifting to booth 7. That boy, he never spoke much. But he said enough. She saw it in the way he folded his napkin. The way he never touched the butter. The way he always took a long time chewing the first bite. Like he didn't trust the food. Like he didn't trust anything. Still, he came. Every morning. 6:50 a.m. on the dot. It was 7:15 now. The boy didn't come. She tried to shake it off. Wiped down the counter. Refilled sugar jars. Restocked napkins. But her eyes kept going back to that seat. Why did it feel like a warning? It wasn't just the empty chair. It was the way the booth still looked, lived in. Like someone had been there. Like someone left fast. Or was taken. At 7:28, she walked to the booth. She stood still for a moment. Then reached down and touched the seat. It felt warm. A napkin sat on the table. Folded once. Nothing unusual. She hesitated. Then picked it up. One line was scribbled in faint pencil. Don't follow me. Please. Her breath caught. She looked around. No one noticed. The old man in the corner stirred his tea. The young couple scrolled on their phones. The world kept turning like nothing changed. But Marla felt it. Everything changed. The boy wasn't just gone. He left. And he didn't want her involved. That made no sense. She slipped the napkin into her pocket. Then she told herself to stop overthinking. She had customers. She had a job. She had bills. But none of that felt important right now. She didn't sleep well that night. She kept seeing his face. Pale. Tired. Always looking at the door. Always looking like someone might walk in and drag him out. She never asked questions. She thought she was being kind. Now it felt like failure. The next morning, she opened early. 5:30 a.m. She turned on the lights, wiped the tables, and set down a plate of toast at booth 7. She sat across from the empty seat. Folded her hands. Waited. Rain hit the windows. Hard. The sky stayed dark. Cars passed. None of them stopped. She kept staring out the window. Her heartbeat ticked louder than the kitchen clock. At 6:20, she heard footsteps. She turned with hope. Just the delivery guy. At 7:15, nothing. At 8 o'clock, the first customer walked in. A man with muddy boots and a story about a deer he almost hit. She poured his coffee. Nodded. Didn't speak. Then, 9:03 a.m. She heard engines. Low. Deep. Heavy. She looked out the window. 4 black SUVs rolled in. All together. They moved slow. They didn't park in a row. They circled once. Then stopped, nose forward, aimed straight at the diner. All the windows were blacked out. No plates. No movement. Her hands turned cold. She stepped away from the counter. Her apron suddenly felt too tight. For 2 minutes, no one got out. She couldn't stop staring. Then one door opened. A man stepped into the rain. Black coat. Black gloves. No hat. His hair looked military short. His posture screamed control. He didn't run. He didn't hesitate. He just walked straight to the diner. Opened the door. Stepped inside. Rain followed him. He didn't wipe his shoes. He didn't look at the menu. He pointed. Booth 7. You served a boy here, he said. His voice was flat. No warmth. No question in his tone. Just command. Marla nodded. Yes. When? Every day. Until yesterday. What did he say to you? She shook her head. Not much. Just once. He said thank you. The man didn't blink. Describe him. She did. The man pulled something from his coat. A photo. He placed it on the counter. Her breath caught again. It was him. But he looked different. He wore a pressed white shirt. Hair neat. Standing in front of a massive house. Smiling. Marla looked up. That's not him. It is. Her heart pounded. Who are you? The man didn't answer. Instead, he turned and looked at Booth 7 again. We're his family, he said. But his tone said something else. He wasn't family. He was something else. Something dangerous. She took a step back. He leaned forward. Tell me everything, he said. Or someone else gets hurt. Marla's eyes flicked to the napkin in her pocket. She didn't move. She didn't speak. He watched her. Then he smiled. But it wasn't kind. It was a warning. He stepped back. Walked to the door. Looked over his shoulder once. You've got 1 day. He left. The black SUVs pulled out seconds later. No sound. No screech. They melted into the rain like shadows. Marla stood frozen for a long time. The old man stirred his tea again. The young couple laughed at something on their phones. The delivery guy whistled from the back. But Marla stood still. Everything around her felt fake. Everything felt wrong. That boy wasn't just a kid on the run. He was someone important. And someone dangerous wanted him back. That night, she dug through the trash. She found 2 napkins the boy used before. One had a sketch. A small one. Just a line drawing of a house. The same house from the photo. She found a receipt too. He had written a word on the back. Northgate. She didn't know what that meant. But it felt like a clue. She didn't know what she was doing. But she felt it deep in her chest. She had to try. That boy trusted her. And now, someone was coming for both of them. Marla didn't sleep that night. The heavy weight of the man's words hung over her like a storm cloud. You've got 1 day. What did that mean? What would happen if she didn't talk? Would someone really get hurt? And who exactly was that boy? The image of him smiling in that photo haunted her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was somehow involved in something much bigger than she had ever imagined. The next morning, she arrived at the diner even earlier than usual. The rain hadn't stopped. It pelted against the windows, the sound deafening. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, but time felt different now. It felt like it was slipping away, like something was coming that she couldn't stop. She opened the door with a soft creak, and the familiar smells of fresh coffee and frying bacon filled the air. She walked past the empty booths, glancing at booth 7 as she did. It felt eerie to see it empty. She had come to know that space. It had become a strange sanctuary for both her and the boy, an unspoken understanding passing between them with each passing day. Now, it was just a hollow, empty corner. Her heart clenched. She hadn't seen him in 24 hours. It felt like a lifetime. The bell above the door jingled as a new customer walked in. A young man, about her age, maybe a little younger. He was wearing a gray hoodie, and his eyes darted around, as if he was looking for someone. Marla nodded at him and started to walk toward the counter. He sat down at booth 7. Her pulse skipped. Her mind raced, but she forced herself to stay calm. This wasn't him. It couldn't be. The boy had always sat quietly, almost painfully reserved. This guy was different, fidgeting, checking his phone every few seconds. Still, she couldn't help but stare. The similarities were too strong. The same booth. The same kind of look in his eyes. The feeling that something wasn't right. "Can I get you something?" she asked, her voice a little sharper than she intended. He glanced up, distracted. Yeah. Coffee, black. And a bagel, please." She nodded and went to the kitchen, but her thoughts were far from the order. The boy, the one who had come in every day, had left her a warning, and now she was tangled in something that she couldn't understand. The photo. The family. The SUVs. What did it all mean? She returned with his coffee and bagel. The guy barely looked up from his phone. He grabbed the cup and muttered a quick thanks. Marla forced herself to breathe normally. She didn't want to make it obvious that she was rattled. But something about this guy felt wrong. She didn't know why. It wasn't the hoodie or the lack of manners. It was the way he avoided eye contact. The way his gaze kept flicking toward the door. "Are you waiting for someone?" Marla asked before she could stop herself. The man looked up, startled. His eyes darted over her face, searching. He smiled thinly. "No. Just passing through." Marla didn't buy it, but she said nothing. Instead, she moved away, wiping down the counter. The world around her seemed normal, but the weight of the moment was crushing. She couldn't stay here forever. She couldn't ignore the boy's warning. The napkin. The house. The word Northgate. All of it was connected, but she didn't know how. By the time the man finished his breakfast, Marla had already made up her mind. She had to do something. She couldn't just sit here and wait. She couldn't let whoever that man was control her life, control the diner. She had to know what was happening. He left without another word. The bell jingled as he stepped into the rain, and Marla watched him go. There was nothing particularly special about him, but her gut told her he was part of something far more sinister than a simple passing customer. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of motion. The diner was busy, too busy for her to focus. But still, her mind was spinning. What did Northgate mean? And why was she so sure it was the key to understanding all of this? It was just past 2 p.m. when she made her decision. She grabbed her purse, pulled on her jacket, and walked out of the diner. The rain was heavier now, the streets slick with water, but she didn't care. She needed answers. She had no idea where Northgate was, but the moment she stepped outside, she felt the pull of something unseen, something calling her forward. She had to follow it. She didn't get far before she saw it. The black SUV. It was parked at the edge of the lot, hidden in the shadows of a nearby alley. She paused. Her heart raced, but she forced herself to keep walking. She needed to find out where they were going. She needed to know why they were watching her. Her steps were cautious, slow, but the sound of the rain against the pavement covered her movements. She reached the alley, the cold air hitting her face, and squinted at the car. It had tinted windows, just like the ones from that morning. She wasn't sure what to do. Her feet kept moving forward despite the warning bells ringing in her head. Then, the door opened. The man from the diner. The one who had asked about the boy. He stepped out, holding a small notebook in one hand, his face expressionless. He scanned the area quickly before locking eyes with her. "Me. It'll be easier if you do." She shook her head. "I'm not going anywhere with you." His smile faded. "You don't have a choice." The hairs on the back of her neck stood up. Something in his tone made her stomach twist, and her instincts screamed at her to run. But she didn't. Marla squeezed her eyes shut, trying to calm her breath. "I don't know. I think I'm in trouble. I've seen something I shouldn't have." "What do you mean? What happened?" "I don't know exactly, but I think it's about the boy who came to the diner. He's gone, and now there's these men. They've been watching me. There's something about this whole thing. Something I can't explain. They know I know something." "Marla, slow down. What do you mean, they know? What's going on?" "I think they want me to stay quiet. I think they'll hurt someone if I don't. But I don't know who they are or what they want with me." Emma was silent for a long moment. "What can I do? Should I come down there? Should I call the police?" "No," Marla replied quickly. I think this goes deeper than that. I need to figure it out myself." "Okay, but promise me you'll be careful. If this is really what I think it is, you're in way over your head." "I know," Marla whispered. "But I have to do this." There was another long silence before Emma spoke again. "All right, Marla. Just promise me you won't do anything stupid. Don't go looking for trouble. I'll be careful." "Thanks, Emma." Marla hung up the phone, but the weight of the conversation didn't settle her. She was still on edge. She had to know what Northgate meant, and why the man in the SUV had been so determined to warn her off. A bus pulled up to the stop, and she climbed aboard. She didn't know exactly where she was going, but she couldn't stay in the same place. She had to find something, anything, that would make sense of this. Northgate. That name echoed in her head like a drumbeat. The bus moved slowly through the city streets, the rain coming down harder now, blurring the view through the windows. Marla stared out at the passing scenery, but it didn't register. Nothing felt real anymore. Her phone buzzed. She checked it and saw that it was a message from an unknown number. A feeling of dread settled in her stomach. The message read, "Stop asking questions. You're in too deep now. If you don't want to see anyone else hurt, stop this now. You've been warned." Her hands trembled as she read the message. The same feeling of being watched, of being hunted, crept up on her again. She locked her phone and slid it back into her purse, trying to steady her breath. She wasn't going to stop. She couldn't. Not when there was so much at stake. The bus passed through the heart of the city before turning onto a darker, quieter street. Marla's attention snapped back to reality when the bus slowed. Her stop was coming up. As the bus pulled to a halt, she stood up and made her way to the door. Stepping out onto the wet pavement, she glanced up at the street signs. She wasn't sure where she was, but the street name seemed familiar. She'd passed by it on her way to the diner countless times. But now, it felt different. The air felt heavier, and the chill in her bones was more than just the cold. She walked a few blocks, her feet slapping against the wet sidewalk. She was starting to wonder if she was getting closer to Northgate when she saw something that made her stop in her tracks. There, in the distance, was the same black SUV. It was parked on the side of the road, its engine idling. She didn't need to see who was inside. She knew. Her pulse quickened, and her instincts screamed at her to turn around. But she didn't. She stood still, watching the car, waiting for something, anything, to happen. She had come this far. She had to know the truth. And then, a door opened. A figure emerged from the SUV. It was the same man from earlier. The one who had warned her. He glanced in her direction, and for a moment, their eyes met. Marla's heart skipped a beat. He didn't say anything this time. He didn't need to. He just motioned for her to come closer. Against every instinct that told her to run, Marla took a step forward. Slowly, cautiously. She had no idea what was happening, but she knew that running away wasn't an option. Not anymore. She crossed the street and stood in front of the SUV, watching the man. He didn't speak at first. Instead, he opened the back door of the vehicle and gestured for her to get inside. Her stomach twisted. This was the moment where everything could change. "I don't have time for games," he said, his voice cold. "Get in, and we can finish this. You'll understand everything." Marla hesitated. Every fiber of her being screamed not to get in the car. But something kept her standing there. The need for answers. The desire to know who was behind this. The truth. With a deep breath, she stepped inside. Marla sat in the back of the black SUV, her body tense as the engine hummed to life. The man across from her didn't say anything. The silence between them stretched so thick it felt like the world had stopped. The only sound was the steady rhythm of the rain pounding against the windows, as if the storm outside was trying to drown out the tension inside the car. Her thoughts were racing. She wanted answers, but at the same time, she was terrified of what those answers might be. Who were these people? What did they want from her? She felt like a pawn in a game she didn't understand, and the stakes were higher than she ever imagined. She didn't know how much longer she could stay calm. The man finally broke the silence, his voice low and calculated. "You're in deeper than you realize, Marla." She didn't respond immediately. Her eyes locked onto his, searching for any sign of the truth. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" He sighed, almost as if he was disappointed in her question. "The real question is why you're still asking that," he said, his voice hardening. "You already know more than you should. But you're not stupid, so I'll tell you what you need to know." Marla swallowed hard. Her heart was pounding, and her pulse throbbed in her temples. "Then tell me," she said, her voice trembling despite her best efforts. "What's going on? Why did you show up at my diner? Why did you warn me about the boy?" He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "I don't think you fully understand what you've gotten yourself into. This isn't just about some kid. This is about something much bigger. Something dangerous." "Dangerous?" Marla repeated, feeling a chill crawl up her spine. "What do you mean?" He hesitated for a moment, his eyes scanning the road ahead. Then he looked back at her, his gaze sharp. "It's about Northgate. That's what they call it, but it's really a network. A network that has been operating in the shadows for decades. And the boy you saw, the one you fed every day, he's a part of it. The warning I gave you wasn't just for your safety. It was for his." Marla felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. "What do you mean, a part of it? Who is he? What are you talking about?" The man's lips twisted into something that could have been a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "The boy is special, Marla. He's more than just some runaway kid. He's a key part of something much bigger. Something that could bring down the whole operation." "Bring it down," she repeated, incredulity in her voice. What operation? Who are these people? He leaned back, his fingers tapping on the armrest. The people behind Northgate have been controlling everything in the shadows: government, business, media. You name it. They've been pulling strings, manipulating things for their own benefit. And they've been doing it for years. But now, they've made a mistake. They've underestimated a few things. One of those things is the boy. And the other thing they underestimated is you. Marla felt a chill at the mention of her name. Me? I'm just a waitress. I don't know anything about all of this. Exactly, he said with a nod. That's why they're scared. You're too close to the truth, and they don't like that. You've seen too much. Marla shook her head, trying to process it all. But I don't understand. Why am I involved in this? I'm just doing my job. I've fed him a few times, that's all. I didn't know anything about any of this until I saw the SUVs. The boy was watching you, Marla, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. He knew you'd notice him. He knew you'd care. And that's why they're after you now. They need to make sure you don't dig any deeper. They need to keep their secrets safe. A shiver ran through her. What secrets? He paused again, his gaze intense. The secrets of Northgate. The real operation behind it. They don't just control people. They control entire systems, finance, technology, politics. They've been doing it for so long that they think they're untouchable. But the boy can bring it all down. Marla felt a growing sense of disbelief. But how? How can a kid bring all of that down? Because he's not just any kid, the man replied. He's been trained. He's been groomed. He knows how to destroy them from the inside. They've tried to control him, but he's smarter than they thought. And now, he's got the one thing they didn't count on, you. Marla's mind spun. Me? Yes. They've been tracking you ever since you started noticing him. They thought you'd be an easy target. But you're not. You're part of the equation now. And they can't let that slide. She stared at him in confusion. Why? Why me? He finally looked away, his face grim. Because you're the only one who can help him now. The boy trusts you. You've seen it in his eyes, haven't you? He's not just running. He's on a mission. And you're part of that mission now. The SUV took a sharp turn onto a narrow road, the tires crunching against gravel. Marla's hands gripped the seat as she tried to process everything he was saying. We're going to the place where they're holding him, the man continued, his voice cold and final. The place where he's been kept under control. But we're not just going to take him back. We're going to make sure the people who've been controlling him and everyone else get what's coming to them. Marla's heart hammered in her chest. You want me to help you take them down? I want you to help him, he said. That's all. But if we're going to do this, you need to trust me. We're too far in to turn back. Marla felt a knot form in her stomach. Her instincts screamed at her to run, to get out of the car and forget all of this. But the truth was, she couldn't. There was no going back now. She had crossed a line, and no matter how scared she was, she couldn't leave the boy to face this alone. As the SUV pulled into a secluded, heavily guarded compound, Marla's stomach churned. This was it. This was where everything changed. The man turned to her, his expression hard. Stay close. Follow my lead. Don't make a sound unless I tell you. She nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. The door of the SUV opened, and the two of them stepped out into the rain-soaked night. The compound loomed in front of them, silent and foreboding. But beyond the walls, something was waiting, something that could destroy everything. They moved quickly, slipping through shadows, avoiding the guards as they made their way to a hidden entrance. And then, as they reached the door, Marla felt a hand on her arm. She turned and found the boy standing in front of her, his eyes wide with fear and determination. "You came," he whispered. "I didn't leave you," she said softly. The boy nodded, relief flooding his face. He was ready. Ready to fight for his freedom. And Marla was ready, too. Together, they would bring the truth to light. They would tear down Northgate. And the world would never be the same again.